Imagine, just for a second, handing over your hard-earned money to a complete stranger so they can draw a detailed portrait of a person who doesn't even exist yet.
Yeah, it sounds pretty wild when you put it like that.
Right. And then imagine taking that piece of paper, folding it up in your pocket, and using it to decide whether or not to go on a second date with someone you literally just met.
A huge leap of faith.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds a little like science fiction or maybe a bit like magical realism, but right now, hundreds of thousands of people are doing exactly this.
Oh, absolutely. The numbers are staggering.
They're deliberately abandoning the massive data sets and, the algorithms of modern dating to let psychic artists sketch their future spouses. So welcome to this deep dive, custom-tailored just for you.
Glad to be here for this one. It's a fascinating topic.
Today, we are exploring the mechanics of psychic art, the psychological weight of soulmate sketches, and specifically, the explosive popularity of an intuitive creator named Tina Aldea. Our mission today isn't just to look at what these people are buying, but to understand the psychological mechanisms and the cultural shifts that are driving this whole movement.
Well, it is a massive behavioral shift. To really understand why people are doing this, you have to look at the sheer digital fatigue of the modern era.
People are just exhausted, right?
Exactly. I mean, for centuries, humans tried to understand love through the intangible, interpreting dreams, reading omens, sitting with spiritual guides.
The mystery of it all.
Right. But over the last decade, we completely stripped the mystery out of that process. We turned dating into this really sterile forensic exercise.
More like a job interview.
Yeah, we filter by height, zip code, income, and we just expect a perfectly optimized partner to fall out of a vending machine.
Which obviously isn't working for a lot of people.
No, it's not. And because that hyperlogical approach is leaving people feeling incredibly disconnected, we are seeing a massive analog rebellion. People are returning to intuition and symbolism.
Not because they're naive, I'm assuming.
Exactly. Not because they are naive, but because the algorithms have fundamentally failed to capture the complexity of human chemistry.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we can even begin to analyze the sketches themselves, we have to look at the engine of this whole operation, which is the actual psychic artists.
Right, the creators.
Because if you approach this from a strictly logical standpoint, those two words, psychic and artist, they seem to operate on entirely different frequencies.
They really do.
We understand how a traditional artist works, they observe reality, and they replicate it. But how does someone actually sit down and draw a face they have never seen? Like, what is the actual mechanism at play here?
Well, according to the source material, it requires completely bypassing the prefrontal cortex.
Okay, the prefrontal cortex.
Yeah, that's the part of the brain responsible for logical planning and rigid observation. A traditional portrait artist operates almost like a forensic sketch artist, right?
Like drawing a passport photo.
Exactly. Their primary goal is replicating physical reality. They measure the distance between the eyes, the exact angle of the jaw, but a psychic artist fundamentally rejects that forensic approach.
So what are they relying on instead?
They rely on intuitive impressions. And to do this, they have to enter a deeply altered state of consciousness.
Wait, really? Like meditation?
Yeah, exactly. They use meditation and specific visualization practices to essentially quiet the analytical brain and open up the subconscious.
Wow.
It is a highly specialized blend of two phenomena. You have the ancient spiritual tradition of channeling inner wisdom mixed with the well-documented creative flow state.
Oh, right, the flow state. Athletes and musicians talk about that all the time.
Precisely. In neurobiology, flow states are characterized by transient hypofrontality. Basically, the inner critic shuts off, and information, or in this case, symbolic imagery, just pours out onto the canvas without conscious interference.
Okay, so they aren't seeing a literal high-definition photograph of someone's face in their mind's eye.
No, it's not like downloading a JPEG.
Right. It sounds more like they translating an emotional frequency or maybe a sensory impression into a visual medium, like a form of spiritual synesthesia where an energy signature gets translated into the shape of a jawline.
That is a great way to describe it.
But that brings up a massive question of utility for me. If the listener isn't getting a literal photograph-like image of their future spouse, what are they actually paying for?
It's a fair question.
I want to compare this to a forensic composite sketch versus an emotional Rorschach test. If you're looking for a bank robber, you need a forensic sketch. You need the exact geometry of their face.
Because you need to physically identify them in a crowd.
Exactly. So if these soulmate sketches aren't literal blueprints, if you can't take this drawing to a coffee shop and use it like a wanted poster to scan the room, What is the practical value of what the client receives?
What's fascinating here is that the value has almost nothing to do with factual forensic prediction and everything to do with cognitive framing.
Cognitive framing.
Yeah, the source text emphasizes that these sketches are symbolic representations. When a person receives this artwork, it acts as a massive visual priming tool.
Okay, how so?
In psychology, there is a mechanism called the reticular activating system, or the RAS.
Oh, I've heard of this. It's like a filter, right?
Exactly. It's the filter in your brain that decides what information to let in and what to ignore. When you focus intensely on an image or a concept, your RAS starts highlighting things in your environment that match it.
Like when you buy a new car and suddenly you see that exact car everywhere on the highway.
Yes, perfect example. So by looking at a physical, artistic representation of a connection, the client is essentially programming their brain. They are priming themselves to look for specific energetic and emotional cues in the real world that they previously would have just swiped right past.
Wow, so it's less about predicting the future and more about rewiring the present. You are literally paying to have your own perceptual filter recalibrated.
Precisely. It shifts the person entirely out of that judgmental swipe left mentality.
Because they aren't judging a literal face on a screen anymore.
Right. You are exploring an interpretation of a connection. The artwork serves as a deeply personalized keepsake that forces the recipient to pause, look inward, and really engage their imagination.
And it probably gives them some optimism too.
Oh, absolutely. It acts as an anchor for optimism.
Mhm.
In a modern dating landscape that is famously a grueling, demoralizing slog, providing a tangible source of hope is an incredibly valuable psychological service.
That cognitive priming is exactly why we need to examine what is actually being primed. Because if the sketch is a tool to focus the brain, we have to understand what the concept of a soulmate actually represents to the people buying these drawings.
It's definitely not the Disney version.
Right. For a long time, the word soulmate felt a bit like a fairy tale trope. The knight in shining armor who rescues you and makes life effortless. But the source material paints a radically different, much more demanding picture.
Much more demanding.
So what does this all mean? The text breaks down the soulmate dynamic into 4 distinct pillars: shared growth, timing, connection, and purpose.
Those are the core foundations, yeah.
Let's look at the first one, shared growth. It seems like our societal definition of romantic success has undergone a massive evolution.
It really has. Historically, marriage and partnership were economic transactions.
Yeah, securing the bloodline and merging property.
Exactly. They were about survival, land consolidation, and physical security. But as those basic needs became easier to meet in the modern world, our expectations of partnership elevated dramatically.
We want more than just a roommate who pays half the rent.
Right. And the spiritual and intuitive perspective outlined in our sources explicitly rejects the idea that a soulmate is someone who just brings you comfortable, frictionless, romantic happiness.
Wait, really? So it's not supposed to be easy?
No, not at all. A soulmate is defined as an individual who acts as a catalyst for your personal development. It is a highly active, sometimes uncomfortable dynamic.
That makes a lot of sense.
It is about finding someone who challenges your blind spots, who
Yeah.
supports your evolution, and who basically forces you to expand. It's the grit of growing together, not just riding off into the sunset.
Right, it's a crucible, not a vacation. Which makes the second pillar, timing, so incredibly important.
Timing is everything.
The text stresses that meaningful relationships only manifest when both people are emotionally prepared. So the whole right person, wrong time phenomenon isn't just a sad cliche.
No, it's a structural reality of this dynamic.
But I want to push back on the mysticism of timing for a second. Is timing actually some cosmic clock the universe is running? Or is it just a polite way of talking about psychological readiness?
Well, the source material leans heavily into the idea of readiness, and you can absolutely view that through a psychological lens.
Okay, so less magic, more maturity.
Yeah, timing isn't just about the universe magically aligning two schedules. It's a commitment device. You can cross paths with someone who possesses incredible potential for shared growth. But if your own internal architecture isn't stable...
Like if you're bringing a ton of baggage into it.
Exactly. If you haven't dealt with your own past traumas, or if you haven't developed secure attachment, the connection simply will not hold.
It just falls apart?
It does. The soulmate concept inherently demands that you do the internal work first. The sketch, therefore, acts as a visual reminder of the work you still need to do to be ready for the time when it arrives.
And if you've done that work and the timing actually aligns, that's when you achieve the third pillar, which is
Yeah.
connection. But the sources are very careful to distinguish this from superficial compatibility. This goes way beyond bonding over a shared love of obscure indie films or, spicy margaritas.
Oh, way beyond that.
The text describes this connection as achieving deep understanding, unbreakable trust, and profound emotional resonance. It's almost like the sensation of being completely legible to another human being.
Legible. I like that. It is resonance on a foundational level. Superficial traits are what algorithms sort for. Emotional resonance is what a psychic artist attempts to capture in a sketch.
Ah, that connects back perfectly.
And that deep, resonant connection is the necessary precursor to the fourth pillar, which is purpose.
Purpose. This feels like a big shift in modern dating.
It is perhaps the most profound shift in how daters are viewing relationships right now. It is the spiritual perspective that significant relationships are not random collisions of chance.
They happen for a reason.
Yes, they are deliberately designed to teach us vital life lessons. And the crucial nuance here, which surprises a lot of people, is that a soulmate relationship doesn't have to last forever to fulfill its purpose.
Wow. Really? So soulmate isn't necessarily a life partner?
Not always. If a 5-year relationship fundamentally teaches you how to establish healthy boundaries or expands your capacity for empathy, then that person was a soulmate who successfully delivered their purpose in your life's narrative.
Okay, looking at how those 4 pillars interlock: growth, demanding readiness, readiness enabling connection, connection revealing purpose, I have to ask a pretty blunt question.
Go for it.
Are these soulmate sketches essentially just functioning as a highly elaborate cognitive framing tool? Like, people are getting brutalized by the superficiality of dating apps. They are exhausted.
Very exhausted.
Are these sketches just a psychological mirror that people use to project their own desperate desires for purpose and growth onto a piece of paper, just so they don't give up on love entirely?
Well, it is a cognitive framing tool, yes. But I would argue it's not just a mirror reflecting their own desires back at them.
What is it doing then?
Often it operates like a spotlight, exposing what they subconsciously feel they lack.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. If a person receives a sketch and the overwhelming energy of the drawing is highly grounded, stable, and earthy, it might be because the recipient's own life is deeply chaotic.
And their subconscious is screaming for a stabilizing force.
Exactly. It forces them to confront why they are drawn to that specific energy in the first place.
That is fascinating. So the drawing isn't just showing them a stranger, it's actively exposing their own internal gaps.
Exactly. It shifts them from being passive consumers of dating profiles, just scrolling and judging, into active participants in their own psychological readiness.
They have to actually engage with it.
Right. By asking someone to meditate on a symbolic image, you are forcing them to define what love actually requires of them. It asks them, are you prepared for the growth this face represents? Are you ready for the purpose this connection demands?
Because modern daters are starting to realize that their own chaotic energy or unresolved baggage might be sabotaging their swipes, they are actively abandoning the mass market algorithmic approach.
They want out of the system.
They don't want a one-size-fits-all solution anymore. They want a bespoke, psychological, and spiritual intervention. And here's where it gets really interesting. This exact realization is what is driving the massive consumer shift toward the personalization economy.
Oh, it's a huge economic driver right now.
And it is exactly what catapulted creators like Tina Aldea into the spotlight.
The broader consumer landscape has completely transformed over the last few years. We are seeing a profound rejection of the generic.
Yeah, nobody wants cookie-cutter anything anymore.
Exactly. People no longer want mass-produced solutions for the deeply intimate aspects of their lives. We see this in everything from hyper-customized health protocols to individualized life coaching, and now it has fully arrived in the realm of romance and spirituality.
It makes sense when you think about it.
The source text identifies this trend of personalization as the core driver behind the demand for psychic artists. People want an experience that is intricately woven into their personal narrative.
And Tina Aldea has essentially built a thriving ecosystem right at the center of this demand. The sources highlight her specifically because she has managed to scale an incredibly intimate process.
Which is not easy to do.
Right. But how is she actually executing this? If thousands of people are utilizing her service, she isn't just pumping out random doodles. There has to be a specific methodology that connects the client's desire for personalization with her artistic output.
According to the source material, her methodology is a synthesis of intuitive energy reading and classical artistic execution.
So she's not just asking for a list of physical preferences.
No, not at all. She doesn't want to know if you prefer blondes or brunettes. Instead, the service states she draws on her years of experience to tap into the client's energetic field.
Okay, back to that energy translation we talked about earlier.
Right. The goal is to isolate the essence of the person whose energy is complementary to the client's, and then translate that invisible essence into visible, symbolic geometry on the page.
Translating the invisible into the visible. But, you know, with anything that touches on psychic readings, destiny, or spiritual guarantees, there's a massive hazard of people taking it too literally.
So that is always a risk.
I can easily imagine someone receiving a beautiful sketch from Tina Aldea, taking it to a bar, and aggressively rejecting a fantastic, compatible person
Yeah.
simply because their nose is slightly different than the one in the drawing. There has to be a guardrail here.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, maintaining that guardrail is absolutely critical. And to be fair, the source material explicitly addresses this.
Oh, it does. Good.
Yes, engaging with the psychic artist is a tool for emotional exploration. It is not a substitute for rational relationship choices or healthy dating boundaries.
You still need common sense.
Exactly. It is designed to complement your practical judgment, not replace it. Beliefs in this space operate on a very wide spectrum.
Meaning people take it at varying levels of seriousness.
Yeah. For some, this sketch is just a novel imaginative gift, a fun exercise in what if. For others, it is a deeply reverent spiritual practice. But the healthiest approach, regardless of where you fall on that spectrum, is to utilize the artwork with intense curiosity rather than rigid dogma.
The analogy that jumps out to me is the difference between a map and a compass.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Think about it. An algorithmic dating app tries to be a map. It gives you turn-by-turn directions based on data, and it tries to put a literal X on the treasure.
Right, it tries to do all the work for you.
But a soulmate sketch operates like an emotional compass. The compass doesn't show you the destination, and it certainly doesn't do the hiking for you. It just points you toward true north,
I love that.
give you a general orientation. But you still have to put your boots on, walk out into the woods, and navigate the terrain yourself.
That is an excellent way to conceptualize it, but I would add one crucial nuance to your analogy.
What's that?
It is a compass, but it is a compass that often points inward before it points forward.
Pointing inward, I see.
The sketch helps orient you toward the internal qualities you need to develop, the shared growth, the emotional readiness we discussed, so that when you finally do walk out into the woods, you are actually capable of recognizing the right person when you cross paths.
It prepares you for the hike.
Yes. It empowers the individual to navigate the incredibly complex dating landscape with a renewed sense of intentionality. It takes a process that feels exhausting and infuses it with a sense of wonder.
And that sense of wonder is precisely why this niche is exploding right now. At our core, humans are captivated by love stories. We always have been.
It's universal.
Despite all of our technological advancements, our fundamental emotional architecture hasn't changed. We still have a profound desire for hope, a deep need for belonging, and an enduring belief in possibility.
We haven't outgrown that.
No, we haven't. And what soulmate sketches do, and what artists like Tina Aldea have mastered, is merging that ancient, timeless search for spiritual connection with modern, highly personalized storytelling.
It brings the magic back.
Exactly. They take the vast, overwhelming anxiety of finding the one, and they distill it into a tangible, deeply personal piece of art that you can literally hold in your hands.
They serve as a vital reminder that even in a society entirely governed by cold data and predictive algorithms, human beings still fundamentally crave mystery.
We really do.
We crave the unexplainable. We want art, we want intuition, and we desperately want to believe that our connections with others are guided by something much larger than a geographic proximity filter on a smartphone.
For you listening, if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, whether you're looking at it through a lens of psychological cognitive framing or genuine spiritual energy reading, you can explore this specific service we've been analyzing today.
It's definitely worth checking out the visuals.
You can visit tinaldea-psychic.com to see exactly how Tina Aldea translates intuition into art and what that personalized experience actually looks like.
This raises an important question, though, and it is something I really want you to sit with as we conclude.
Right, lay it on us.
We have spent this entire deep dive analyzing what it means to visualize the partner you want. We've dissected the pillars of emotional readiness, shared growth, and the necessity of timing.
Right.
But let's completely flip the perspective for a moment. If a psychic artist were to sit down right now, tap into the energetic field, and sketch you as the destined soulmate for someone else,
Oh, wow.
what symbolic imagery would appear on that canvas? Based on your current level of emotional maturity, your capacity for deep connection, and your willingness to embrace shared growth, are you currently the soulmate you're trying so hard to find?
What an incredible paradigm shift to end on. Are you the soulmate you were trying to find? It completely dismantles the idea of dating as a consumer sport.
It changes the whole objective.
It really does. Instead of just endlessly swiping through a digital catalog demanding the perfect match, maybe the most urgent work we can do is to pick up the brush and focus on our own canvas first. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take that question with you, maybe do a little internal sketching of your own this week, and we will catch you next time.